Hello, welcome to Waste Not, Want Not, and thank you for joining me. These handy dandy plastic bags, inexpensive, lightweight, easy to use, but in a time when we are becoming very conscious of single-use plastics and the waste that they generate, are kind of a guilty pleasure. So, can we reuse these safely? Well, interestingly enough, when I looked this up years ago, the answer was no. And the reason for that was because this material was not designed for reuse. It's very thin. That's what gives it some of its desirable properties, right? It's lightweight and inexpensive. Fast forward to a time when we are more conscious of single-use plastics and trying to reduce their use. Suddenly, now the answer is yes. Yes, you can reuse them. And this is just from a simple Google search. This isn't singling out any particular brand. So what I'm going to tell you is what I've looked up recently, what I looked up in the past, and what I've been doing for years now. So yes, this material was not designed for multiple uses, but I believe that you can use them safely, and this is what it says now on the internet if you look it up, if you're paying attention to a few things. If you wash them out completely with soap and water and let them air dry, you can use them a few times. Once they start looking cloudy, see if you can see the difference here. What that's telling you is that there's tiny scratches on the inside of the bag or even on the outside. We're more concerned with the inside probably if we're using it for food, but there's tiny scratches, tiny micro tears, and that allows for bacteria to get trapped in there, so it's harder to get them clean, and also a little tiny bit is flaking off and you're probably consuming it in your food. Most of us consume a decent amount of plastic, unfortunately, but we're trying to reduce it. I'm all about reducing sensibly on this channel. We don't have to be perfect. Even if we're just moving the dial, we're moving in the right direction. Once that bag starts to get cloudy, you need to start making some decisions. What I do is I try to use a bag for food when it's nice and clean and clear, fine. If I'm going to be putting raw meat in it or something, I will try to use one that I've used before. And then once it's had raw meat in it or some other thing that might be more contaminating, then I mark it with a U, and now it becomes a utility bag. So this bag, you can see I had chicken breast in it. I marked it so that I would know. And then after I finished using it, I marked it with a U, just with a Sharpie. And now these bags live in the garage, and they're great for storing whatever you need to store that is a non-food item. Cords, I use them to pack. They're great for things like socks and underwear. You can see what's in them. They're contained. They work wonderfully for that. I wash them out, of course, so they're clean, but they're really not suitable for food anymore because there's too many scratches on the inside. The bag is now cloudy, or I've used it for raw meat or some other food item that could have contaminated it. And if something accidentally rots in a Ziploc bag, then I just throw it away. So based on what I've been doing for years and what I read years ago and then now today, yes, you can reuse a Ziploc bag. Wash them thoroughly and dry them thoroughly. This is what I've used to dry my Ziploc bags. It's actually a picture hanger that I bought this for $1 at a thrift store, and I've been using it to dry my bags. It's starting to get a little rusty. I feel like I should get something new. I see some that are wooden, and I kind of don't want a wooden one. I really don't want to buy a plastic one. I mean, I try not to buy things plastic if I can find material that breaks down better or is more recyclable than plastic. The wooden ones, in my case, I fear will stay wet because I'm washing these frequently. Recently, in our grocery stores, all the produce bags are now compostable bags. I think that's so great. But what I have done in the past, this is kind of a nice weight plastic bag for produce. And I wash these out too. And I just reuse them and I reuse them. I do have the kind of cloth or mesh bags that you can throw in the washing machine and reuse those. But they don't work well for things like lettuce and things that need to be kept crisp. Those things at some point need to be in a sealed container or a plastic bag. In my case, my refrigerator is small, so I don't have room for large containers that I can put things in. The plastic bag is more suitable for me because I just don't have the space. And again, if they start looking ratty, then they go into the recycle. Unfortunately, most plastics are not actually recycled, even when we put them in the recycling bin. And that is something I'm definitely going to go into a deep dive in on this channel. So to try to not use them in the first place or use them as efficiently and as sparingly as possible is what I'm advocating for. If you do have recycling in your area, look it up and see what is the criteria for the recycling. For example, in my case, our plastics are supposed to be bagged, and that's probably for a lot of reasons, one of which is that the plastic becomes airborne so easily that it ends up flying out of the garbage trucks and ends up down the storm drain and out into the water bodies. So what I do to make this easy for myself, this is just an oatmeal container, and I just put a bag in it, and then it's under the sink, and I just keep stuffing whatever bags I'm going to recycle in there, and then when it's full, I just pull it out, and voila. There is my bagged bag of recycling. Depending on the source that you look at and the year, in the US, we generate about 40 million tons of plastic per year. And of course, we're the leader in this. But if we could reduce that by just 20%, that would save 8 million tons of plastic entering the waste system. So another thing I want to advocate for is trying not to feel like there's just nothing you can do about it. Even if you can just reduce your waste a little bit and get better over time, it can make a really big difference in the end. Thank you for watching this video. Leave any comments or concerns. How do you feel about this in the comments section below? Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.